This noon today, we have a new president. As with each incoming president, they each have their own priorities and agendas. Not long after his inauguration, President Trump sent out what he's calling his America First priorities.
The golden age of America begins right now. During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first.
So let's take a look at the first email sent out today by the Trump-Vance White House. This is President Trump's America First priorities. Top of the list, his plan to make America safe again. This is his immigration plan. We'll look more into that, by the way, in just a second. Next is to make America affordable and energy dominant again, declaring an energy emergency. He's ending Biden climate change policies and increase drilling for oil. His plans to, quote, drain the swamp returns with plans to freeze hiring except in essential areas. And he's going to end DEI, or diversity, equity, and inclusion. And he says he will also protect free speech. And finally, his priority to what he calls bring back American values. Establish male and female as the government's official policy. President Trump says it'll protect women from gender ideology. And he wants named landmarks to honor our nation's history.
First, I will declare a national emergency at our southern border. All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came.
But it is his immigration plans that do have some families worried. It includes ending what critics called Biden's catch and release. President Trump will reinstate his Remain in Mexico policy that requires people to stay out of the U.S. while undergoing immigration proceedings. He also plans a mass deportation operation. It is something he ran on heavily, saying it would be the largest deportation operation in American history. He wants to suspend refugee resettlement, which he says has strained the safety and resources of communities. He will designate drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. And the president will deploy the armed services, including the National Guard, to assist existing law enforcement at the border. Now, regardless of how many feel about the issue, the work done by law enforcement at the border is often misunderstood. Rhea Torres met up with one border agent in Arizona to learn more about their work and their relationship with nonprofit operations.
Down by the Sassabee port of entry, the border wall stretches for miles on both sides. In between the ports of entry, Border Patrol agents are the boots on the ground.
So we don't make up the laws, we're just enforcing the laws on the books.
Robert Ortiz has been an agent with Border Patrol for 11 years.
A big part of my career I spent talking to the people, and if you were to go talk to the majority of the people that live in border towns, they'll tell you that most of the time when something happens, Border Patrols are the first one there, right? We're the first one rendering aid to, a burning house, somebody fleeing from local law enforcement, attending local community events.
A big misconception is that Border Patrol makes the decisions on deporting undocumented migrants.
But at the end, the decision is not made with the Border Patrol, right? We don't decide who gets to stay, who gets to go. We apply the laws that are on the books right now, and then it's out of our hands after we've done our part.
Much of their enforcement is focused on crossings. Any person, including U.S. citizens, must enter the United States through an official port of entry.
Anybody that comes up and over underneath or through this fence and they did not present themselves at a port of entry, that is considered an illegal entry into the United States.
That includes human trafficking.
So when you're talking about smuggling or removing somebody from this area, where you really get in trouble is when you take anybody from the border region into the United States.
Agents also encounter humanitarian groups who take trips to the border, providing aid to migrants in need. One such group is the Tucson Samaritans.
What we do is we give food and water and a shoulder to cry on, or a hug if they need it, while we sit and wait for Border Patrol.
The Samaritans often interact with Border Patrol agents who make their rounds by the campsites.
I think overall we get along pretty well.
Gail Kosarek from the Tucson Samaritans has been going into the desert for over a decade. She describes her relationship with the agents as cordial.
Because they know that we're saving lives here, and they've told me we'd rather have You give them water and we find a live person and then a dead one. They said you don't like to find bodies, especially out here.
Agent Ortiz says they often get calls from Samaritan groups to pick up the people who have illegally crossed. He says from the Border Patrol standpoint, the interactions are professional.
At the same time, we do have a job to do, and we were going to get our job done with the help of them or without them.
And that was Rhea Torres reporting. Now, Agent Ortiz says agents have seen about 250 arrests per day, which is actually a sharp decline from the highest numbers of encounters, which was back in December of 2023. Let's give you a live look outside.